8
welcome,
hours.
welcome to the Extra Life Marathon stream.
I'm tweeting this out.
Podcast Without Pretense.
Tweeting out the link on YouTube. I'm going to click it now so I can break the internet to see if it actually works, because I don't really know what we're doing today. We haven't officially started yet because this is the live hangout version of the show. I'm assuming that Suncast will cut this part out because this is nonsense. And I can hear myself.
I can hear you too.
Go away. There we go. All right, so it's going live and everything's going good. I should have been like, if you want to talk to us, you can do it on Twitter only, because whatever.
Yeah, I was about to say we don't have like a chat room or anything over in here, do we?
I think there's like the YouTube comments. That's why I opened it up.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Let me open that up and see if it's worthwhile.
Okay.
Well, I mean, they have to show up from somewhere. So like they're showing up from our Twitters or Twitter accounts. So it should be a little bit different. Join the audience for this hangout. Is there a way to see? Chat is disabled for this live stream. Okay, how do I open up chat? This button? This button? Control room? I don't need that right now. That's kind of neat, but I don't need that. All right, so, there's a chat button.
Oh. Yeah, it's the one at the top left.
That's just us, though, is it?
That's just the group chat, yeah.
We got one viewer. I think that's me, because I Screw it. I think we're just going to start the show.
This is going to be just as successful as my periscopes.
Hey, it's not bad. Okay, so I'm going to close out this thing because there's no way in the heck. One watching now, live stream. Okay, let's do this. Okay. This is where we're going to start the show. Previously on Podcast Without Pretense.
Eric, I'm so impressed at how much you're dedicated to studying mine. Tell me more.
Eric, that was the most verbose I've ever heard you, and I can't believe you talked for over an hour.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Strickland.
I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
And Eric Sandine cannot be with us for tonight's show because he's being a stand-up kind of guy and apparently picking up somebody from an airport somewhere. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, but the weird thing is there's the other half of the story that Eric has no plans to pick up somebody from the airport. He's just going to go do this.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some random person, and he's going to be holding a sign that says Stuart. And when Stuart shows up, he's just going to drive him somewhere. So
I will say that this is better than his initial plan, which just involved him driving up to the curb, jumping out, screaming to the first person he sees, "Get in the car! Get in the car!" and then peeling out.
That was, I believe, version 0.2 of his plan.
Yeah, he ended up going back to the drawing board a couple more times.
Yeah, this is the 80th attempt. I think he's actually at 0.8 on the release, and maybe he'll get to a version 1.0 one point when it comes to really being a courteous abductor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, he's actually, he's definitely, kind of brought it down a few notches, but that's okay because Eric's a pretty laid back kind of guy. And honestly, when he was kind of going through that whole like Liam Neeson approach, it just felt forced and not in a scary, I'm going to break your kneecaps kind of way.
Right. Eric's like, you can show up and I'll give you hot chocolate. That's his approach. He doesn't need to threaten your life and tell people he's got a special set of skills.
That's right.
We all do. So we got no movie to talk about today because we got no Eric.
Right. So why
bother?
We actually talked online. We chatted about the possibility of just Ayaz and I going over this because Ayaz offered to go ahead and watch the film in its entirety so that we could have a discussion. But I thought this would be better for all three of us because like I had said when I picked the movie, I'm kind of close to it in the sense that I know people who were involved in the making of the movie. So not that that's going to stop me from criticizing it when we finally get around to it, but it also helps to have other viewpoints of people who aren't like personally friends of the cast and crew of the film.
This is the reconstruction of William Zero. Is that what it's called?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So I haven't even, I was going to do the transcription and translation of the review, but obviously I'll hold off on that until we can have a full discussion.
Yeah.
I've got a treat for you.
What's that?
So remember when I said that I was going to go over through, like back episodes and pull quotes and then quiz you guys on who said it and then about which movie?
Yeah, that was a bizarre threat that you chose to make.
I've got one just for you because this way I was going to do one for each of you, but obviously since Eric's not here, I just have one. I'm going to give you the episode number. I'm going to give you the quote. Then I want you to say who said it and about which movie. And if you can give any context, that would be fantastic. But I don't expect it because it's pulled completely out of context. So
you want me to say who said it?
Yeah. Now you can't look up the episode.
No. I'm literally writing down your questions. Who said it? The movie.
Yeah.
And maybe the context.
Yeah. Maybe the context if you happen to remember it. You don't. I mean.
Oh yeah. I my memory is crap in general, so this would be really fun.
If you were doing this with me, I'd be like, I don't know. You said it about Troll 2. You'd be like, no, that was Senorita Justice.
I have blocked out most of Senorita Justice, not the episode, but the actual movie. So
no, me too, man. What I remember is that she was in a sports bra for like a really long montage.
But she was tough, really tough, and had like a blue bandana, I want to say, but that could have been anything I watched.
Yeah. So this is from episode 107. And your quote is
recent.
Your quote is, "She looks like a worked-in catcher's mitt."
Okay, I said that.
You did say that. That is you.
I do know I said that. She looks like a worked-in catcher's mitt. It was somebody. It was about an actress that we had seen before in other movies, like maybe might have been a movie I had picked because it's around like probably like an 80s actress who probably didn't age well, and it looked like a catcher's mitt. That's definitely one of my sayings.
Yes.
So, oh so man,
you got that part right though, dude. I mean, straight away, which is awesome.
For the sake of the listeners and viewers, I'm going to have to give up because I can't remember the movie and I probably will be kicking myself. And I'm trying to think who the actress is, who would be so beaten up that looks like a roughed up catcher's mitt, but go ahead.
What was funny was that you and I both took notes about, actually all three of us took notes about this movie, and you and I had essentially the same thing to say about this actress. The movie was Blood Lake, Attack of the Killer Lampreys. And the actress was Shannon Doherty.
Oh yeah, she looked like hell in that movie. No,
yeah.
Now, not to objectify anybody, but she does look pretty rough. And there's a lot of men that we watch in movies that look pretty rough. So not.
I had said in mine, rather than saying she looked like a worked-in catcher's mitt, which is poetic as hell. I just said that her makeup was looking really uneven in the movie because they were using like a high definition camera, but it was a video camera, not film. So it's not as forgiving as film is. And it did look pretty rough. And, but yeah, that line, like my goal is when I listen back to these episodes and I pull quotes, I want to pull quotes that make me laugh or at least make me go, or make me wince, one of the two. And this one made me laugh. So I stopped. I was listening to the episode. I stopped it, went back, made sure I got the quote right. and so I'm starting a spreadsheet where I'm going to list these quotes and the episode numbers, and I'm going to do my best to try and avoid pulling multiple quotes from the same episode, at least at first, until I get further along, in which case I might revisit an episode we've already looked at.
This could be a fun a web app to make to see if not people have to fill it out, but it can be multiple choice and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit of a project. If I have spare time, I might actually try it. Why not? I haven't done a web project in a really long time. And today we were just setting up Hangouts, and I felt like a Luddite. I'm like, is this how you do a Hangout? And is this how you do one on air? It's a different link. Okay. And then it took us 3 different connections to get this to work, and we changed nothing.
Yeah. I mean, from one call to the next, we made no changes, and it was just the third time was the charm, and it worked. And what was really funny was in the first 2, one of us could hear the other, but the reverse was not true. So in the first call, I could hear Ayaz, but he couldn't hear me. In the second call, Ayaz could hear me, but I couldn't hear him.
Third call, we didn't have the other permutation. We couldn't hear each other.
Thank God. Thank God Sandine isn't in this episode. It would have taken like 73 calls to finally hit the combination where all 3 of us could hear one another.
But we thankfully have that working now. And let's see, I was just thinking about, I could have sworn that you were threatening to talk about Thanksgiving the musical.
Oh, no, you not just threatening, dude. I am so sad there's no way to get you and Eric down here to see this, because it was glorious. At least 4 people walked out of it.
How long was the actual show?
It's a little more than an hour, but they do actually put an intermission in, and they have a song that explains it, saying, we realize this show is like 57 minutes long, but we still have to make money on concessions, so we're having an intermission. And the intermission comes right after the turkey sexually assaults the slut character and kills her.
Oh, right. So let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
The actual implementation of the turkey puppet, I assume, or was it a person in a costume? What exactly?
It was a person in a costume. The head of the turkey looked like it was designed right after the puppet head in the movie. So it was that style, like even with the little scar across one eye, and its mouth was open, and then the actor inside could look through the open mouth, and there was black mesh covering his face so that, you know, you're not just looking at a person's head sticking out of a turkey mouth. And he was in a full costume, complete with actual turkey feathers attached to it. And it was pretty awful and impressive at the same time. And yeah, at least four people, including the 2 people sitting next to me, walked out of this show. And it opened the same way the movie does. If you remember, both Thanksgiving movies open with a close-up on a boob, right? Mm-hmm. Like the very first one opens up where it's just a nipple taking up the entire frame of the picture. And then the camera pulls back and you see it's a woman dressed up as a pilgrim, except her dress is pulled down under her boobs, and she's running through the forest away from the turkey. So in the show, they open with an actor in a pilgrim costume, and he's wearing fake boobs on top of the costume. So it's a pair of fake breasts. Mm-hmm. And he runs out in his pilgrim costume, and he's breathing super hard and moving his chest up and down. So it's really dramatic. And then the rest of the cast comes out. They're dressed as trees. Or they're just holding little fake branches while the actor dressed as the pilgrim runs through the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast does a song, and the song is all about why the hell are there boobs? Like, what's up with the boobs? And that's the song. The song is actually asking, like, why is the first thing we see in this show a pair of boobs? And the whole show's like that. Like most of the songs are meta commentary, and they're fantastic. And there's the guy who plays the pilgrim. He's essentially the multi-character cast member. He's the guy who plays everyone else that the main cast encounters.
So wait, does he also play like the slut character then?
No. The 5 main characters are the jock, the slut, the nerd, the redneck, and the virgin. So those are your 5 main characters. So that's the 5 kids that are going on the trip. He plays everyone else besides the turkey. He plays everyone else. He plays like the sheriff, father of the virgin. He plays the jock, father of the jock character. He plays a bunch of other folks too. But my favorite character that he plays is another meta character who comes out. The action will pause occasionally on stage, and he'll come out wheeling a little cabinet that has drinks on it, and he sings a song called "The Horror Movie Drinking Game." And he mentions a trope that is common to horror movies. It says every time you see this happen, you're supposed to drink. And of course, every time he appears subsequently, he's more inebriated. So it's like a horror movie drinking game, the horror movie drinking game. You slur your words and forget your name. It's the horror movie drinking game. And so he names the trope each time, like when the slut has sex with a random guy would be one of the tropes, or when the virgin says she'll be right back, that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really entertaining. I knew what to expect. And afterward, I was even talking to some of the actors. I said, what's funny is there are a couple of scenes from the movie that were not included in the play, but it's almost word for word faithful to the original movie.
It'd have to be at 57 minutes. Like, I think the entire movie was 51.
Yeah, I think it's actually a little longer than that, but I think that's what the joke was, that they said it was 57 minutes long or something. But there's a sequence in the movie where the turkey hitches a ride and gets in a truck when he's chasing down the group of friends who are on their way to the virgin's father's house. So the turkey hitches a ride, and in the movie, it's some redneck guy who propositions having sex with the turkey, and then the turkey blows the guy away with a shotgun and then drives the rest of the way in the guy's truck. They skip that scene. So the turkey just magically shows up at the home of all the kids. So there are little scenes like that, but other stuff was amazing. Like, they had a love song between the redneck and the nerd, which was fantastic. It was also funny because in the movie, the redneck is played by a guy who's like, he's a big dude, like flabby, big dude. In the Dad's Garage version, he's played by the skinniest actor on their cast. It was George Fawnin, who's like 6'2" and maybe 140 pounds. Like, it's crazy.
So somebody on Twitter wrote in saying, at John Strickland at PWP show. I click on to see Jonathan saying, quote, "Jock, the slut," etc., and I have no idea what's going on. So I think you just have to.
Thanks, Killing the Musical. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
First of all, so we watched the movie Thanks Killing as one of the films that we've covered on this show. We actually did an episode where we talked both about Thanks Killing, which is a movie about a psychotic turkey that goes on a murdering rampage, and we talked about the movie Apollo 18. And we hated Apollo 18. And we didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about it because, frankly, we all felt that it didn't justify the conversation. And we all enjoyed Thanks Killing. And it is incredibly crude and offensive on purpose, but done in a way that's more fun than something like Rock and Roll Frankenstein, which was just offensive and not fun at all. And the musical is very much in the same vein as the movie. It is, and there's a local theater here in Atlanta that has produced the musical. And they even said that they debated on doing this show because as much as they're known for their edgy and sophomoric humor, they were afraid this one went too far.
Yeah, it's not exactly. I mean, like you said, it is offensive. It is pretty offensive, and it's ridiculous, though. I think it borders on absurd to the point where, like, it's not anywhere near as offensive as Rock and Roll Frankenstein, or actually, I think that's like the what's the phrase? This high water mark for really shitty, and I cannot believe they made it a movie. But Thanks Killing is pretty fun. Yeah, if you want to say that, but you wouldn't sit with your mom to watch it. I don't think.
No. I'm trying to convince Becca to go see it, so I'll go see it a second time because she was out of town when I saw it the first time. So I'll probably go see it again because I had a lot of fun with it. But it is weird to be sitting next to people who don't bother to come back after intermission. you know. But they were two people who I didn't really like. As soon as they started talking to each other when they sat down next to me, I immediately recognized them as the kind of people I absolutely detest in theater audiences. So it was not the show for them, and they realized that, and they left.
There needs to be a filmed version of this musical adaptation of the movie.
Yeah,
I need to be able to see this at some point, or some way to watch it. If they travel around, I'd like to see this.
From what I understand, because I thought at first that the theater had adapted the show themselves, but that's not the case. This was a show that was already adapted by some other folks who had previous credits on some fairly impressive stuff. And so this is a production of that adaptation, which means that it is possible for this particular show to pop up somewhere else at some other theater company that doesn't respect its audience.
Okay, well, maybe that needs to be done out here at some point.
I mean, you would think like New York, you know, some off Broadway production could do it.
In fairness, I haven't looked it up. I have not looked up to see if there's any version of Thanksgiving happening in any theaters near me. It never even occurred to me that that's an option, but I should look into it.
Yeah. Well, I would, if you and Eric were at all close to Atlanta, I would absolutely demand you go see it, because it's everything we loved about the movie done live, and in really weird ways. Like they have some pretty funny ways of doing the special effects, including if you sit in the front row, they warn you it is a splash zone.
That sounds pretty gross. Yeah. So I assume when the face of the sheriff is removed, perhaps that's when some stuff flew.
There's some blood and viscera in that particular scene. They did a good job with that, by the way. It was really funny. Also, whenever there are any like slashing of throats or hatchets being buried in people, then there was lots of blood packs, and they don't bother to hide the blood packs either. Like they're visibly holding the blood pack in their hand and waiting to be stabbed, and then like pop, and it's part of the show. Like, because I've seen them do blood packs in other shows where they actually, you know, they palm it and hide it so that you don't see it clearly in their hands. So this was obviously a choice that they made to actually make it apparent what they were doing, which I guess is kind of adding to that low budget quality of the show. And I just thought it was hilarious. I mean, just like seeing a syringe full of fake stage blood and just holding it on their stomach and then going squeeze, so it just splash everywhere. That was great.
Before the show started, I took a spill, which I haven't done in this apartment like ever. So I'm in a sunken area of the apartment. There's 2 stairs. So far, Liz has slipped down the stairs. My son has slipped down the stairs. My 2 dogs have slipped down the stairs. But today, I managed to slip going up the stairs, which was amazing, because my toenail itself got caught on a lip of one of the stairs, bent backwards.
Oh.
And then I tried to correct while slipping. I fell forward, holding my laptop in my hand, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do because I'm falling. Yeah. Laptop goes out of my hand, it lands upside down, and it was closed the whole time. I felt like I bent back some nails on this hand, so I checked the laptop to see if that's fine. I'm waiting to feel like if I have any injury, because I'm like, I feel okay.
Yeah.
But it's only 2 steps, you know, it's not that like a huge a fall, but man, it finally happened. I fell up the stairs in the apartment. You
say it's only 2 steps, but here's a true story. So I was in a stage production of Clockwork Orange back in 2001. So there was a stage adaptation that Burgess himself had adapted. And it was originally a musical, but we stripped all the music out of it. Thank God, because it was awful. But it was pretty much a straight adaptation of the novel, not the movie. So it included the final chapter. Anyway, lots and lots and lots of stage combat in this show. Tons of scenes of mayhem with characters just beating the crap out of each other with canes and other weaponry. And I ended up everyone in that show sustained injuries because you were just taking so much punishment. And we were doing, 3 shows a week for like 6 weeks. So a lot of falls on the back, a lot of weapons hitting you in various places. I had a terrible bruise on like my right thigh because there was a scene where I was being held down on the stage and repeatedly hit with a broom handle. It was rough. So the guy who played Alex, he's actually, you remember when we watched VHS Viral and saw the segment with Dante the Great, the magician who had the cloak? So the guy who played Dante, he was the guy who played Alex in Clockwork Orange in our show. So we go through the show. We have all these scenes of fights and falls and flips and all this stuff. He gets through all that fine. One night, he's standing on one of the risers. The stage had a couple of different platforms to give different levels for the stage. He's standing on one of the risers. It's maybe 10 inches or so up from another riser. He does a step off, which was planned, to do like a kind of hop down to the next level. When he hits, he tears his ACL.
Holy shit.
Yeah. None of the fights did it. He was fine through all the fights. It was literally a 10-inch drop. And that made him, it didn't completely tear. He didn't have to go in for like a total reconstructive surgery or anything, but it nearly crippled him for like, at least for the rest of that show. He did come out and complete the show. So he's hobbling as best he can on pain meds, which somebody had. I mean, it's theater, so I guess, some of the actors may have been a little medicated already, not me. And he finished the show, and then we had like his understudy played a couple of shows so that he could recuperate. So he injured his ACL without completely tearing it, but it was freaky that it happened with him just doing that little step off a 10-inch platform and not the numerous violent scenes of us beating the crap out of each other with sticks.
I've only fallen in this apartment building 3 times, and twice was going up the stairs, and one of them was today, and one was a while ago, and that was painful. And the other time was when I basically was on an ottoman. I told this story before. I was standing on it, putting up a shelf, 4-foot shelf, a big metal bracket, and the ottoman tipped. I took a huge fall. As I'm falling in midair, I'm like, okay, this giant 4-foot steel thing could kill me. And I have a very long screwdriver in my other hand. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. So I threw the bracket and just kind of fell down. And then I lost some skin on my leg, which really sucked. But I couldn't find the skin, which kind of bothered me because it had to go somewhere, right? It didn't disappear. Like the ottoman had ripped up, like the leg of the ottoman ripped out a piece of my skin, which was kind of painful. So I wanted to see where it went. The other day, this is not a fall or just another injury, because this is what I do. I get injured. I was going up a ladder because I have a storage area that's like the top of my closets. I was going up a ladder, and I was just not paying attention, and I scraped my knee on the ladder, which did rip off skin, about another like inch of skin. But this time I found the skin, which I was kind of impressed because it was there, but also I didn't know what to do with it because it had been removed. So I did throw it out because I was like, okay, well, I found it. At least.
I did throw it out. Like, what were my other options?
Yeah, it's either like try to put it back, which I don't think would have taken, or left it on the ladder, which would have been kind of gross. But it was kind of neat to find it. So what I'm saying is it's somewhat satisfactory to find the skin that you lost, but then you just have waste, and it's not the way to go. This is amazing that none of the stuff I'm saying is not one of those previously or next time.
Yeah.
The actual stuff happens.
I'm actually amazed that I have not fallen down the stairs of my house, because like I've got 3 flights of stairs in this house, and I have not fallen up or down the stairs yet so far. I hope to continue that streak indefinitely, because each flight is like 14 steps long. So if I trip at the top of one of those stairs, that's a lot of falling before you're at the bottom. And if I do it from the second floor down to the ground floor, that's landing on concrete at the end.
You might want to invest in rubber mats. Actually, if this was me, I would probably have put like the stuntman rubber mats on each step. And at the base.
For the ones leading down from the second floor to the first floor, we have carpet, non-skid carpet things for the stairs, specifically for the dogs. Well, back then it was for the dogs because I had 2 of them, and they each had fallen down the stairs and scared the crap out of me because they were tiny little dogs. You know, they were 2 Jack Russell Terriers. So we got the carpet tiles so that they would have they could see the steps better because it contrasted. The steps are bamboo. They're very light, and it's hard to see for the dogs where the edge of one stops and the next one begins. So the carpet tiles helped break that up. And it also was non-skid, so they could run up and down them without falling. And then we just use a baby gate to keep them from going up any of the other stairs. And Tybalt's the same way. Tybalt fell down the stairs once when he was a puppy, and like a little puppy, and he did not want to go near the stairs again for a long time. And I put all the tiles down, and I attached the leash to his collar and led him down the stairs. And once I led him down the stairs and he felt the difference, now you have to stop him from going up and down the stairs a billion times. So my dogs have fallen down the stairs, but Becca and I have been fortunate in that neither of us have done that so far. And I'm hoping that keeps up because it would be terrifying. I used to fall down the stairs all the time when I was a kid. We lived in a split level house and had very shallow stairs. Like they were tall, but they weren't very deep. So, and I didn't realize this, like when I was a kid, I didn't really think about it because I was smaller. But when I helped my parents move out of that house, and I would put my foot down, and my foot would pretty much overlap the edge of the stair, even if my heel was all the way against the back of the step. I was like, how the hell did we manage to go up and down these things? It's almost like a ladder. It's like
Yeah, when it comes to new shoes, I have to now actually pay attention to see if there's a lip on the shoe because I get caught going up the stairs so often. It's just I'm 36. I shouldn't be learning this shit still. Okay, like you should know. There's supposed to be some age you hit, and you're like, okay, look, I'm not going to fall down the stairs due to a lip on a shoe. That's not the case. Okay, it can't be. But yes.
Well, it's kind of like similarly. There should be an age where you absolutely are never going to absent-mindedly pick up either a hot pan or baking sheet or something without having a oven mitt on or towel or something to protect yourself. There should be an age for that. I have not reached that age yet. Because there are times where I'm like, I'll get distracted. I'll open up the oven to get something out, like I'm roasting of some vegetables or something, and I'll open it up. Something will distract me, and I'm like, okay, fine. And then I reach in, I'm like, oh, holy shit! No, wait. This was almost a complete disaster.
You know when you have a shampoo bottle that's running out of shampoo and you put it upside down?
Fuck
right?
you,
like
Ayaz.
Sorry. You know when you have a bottle of something, maybe like a body gel that you put upside down?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the other day I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get the rest of this out, and so as I'm closing the lid upside down, the shampoo actually flies into my eyes, and I'm in there. I'm just like, oh my god, this is something I've never planned for. This is not something I ever figured could happen, nor did I think this is something to be aware of. But now, like this is like months later, I'm just like, okay, will put the thing away from me and close it because I don't want it happening again because it was just such a stupid accident to happen because my eyes are burning. I look like I was baked or something because my eyes are totally like pink. It's like I can't go in and shoot video with this. I look insane. So I just had to watch.
You just start off with, hi, I'm Ayaz Akhtar. Just blaze. Then you go
just blaze. It's like, you're not going to believe the truth anyway. Clearly, like, I don't know how at this age I got shampoo in my eyes. That's why.
Well,
my eyes were irritated.
On a similar note, it's a little different. But when I first started shaving my head, So I was, I was losing my hair by the time I was in my early 20s, and by the time I was in my not even mid 20s, it was, I guess, 23 or so. That's when I realized like it was a lost cause. It really was, and I was going to start shaving my head. So I start shaving my head, and when I start, like for the first probably 6 months or so, I'm super careful because I'm still learning how to do it, right? I'm still it's still new to me. So I'm being super careful as I go over the contours of my head, because you can't see the back of my head or anything. I can't see the back of my head anyway. If you go to CES, you can see the back of my head. There was a whole website about it.
Yeah.
But eventually you get to a point where you start feeling competent at doing something, and you start being less careful. And it took a long time before I finally actually cut myself shaving my head. But I've done it a few times, and a few times they were doozies, like gouging out a chunk in the back of my head. And I don't know if you've ever had a cut on your head, it bleeds a lot, right? There are a lot of veins that are up there. And then if you're in a shower, because that's where I tend to shave my head, is in the shower, then the water, of course, makes it look even like it's even more of a gusher. So I've had a few psycho showers, as Mick Foley would call them, but only due to the fact that, this happens like over and over. There's always like a good long period where I remember to take care, and I'm being careful, and I'm using one hand to kind of feel, and the other hand I just very slowly go across the areas to make sure I'm not missing sections, so I don't have like a streak of hair or something in the back, and also just to make sure that I'm don't have any bumps or anything that I need to be really careful about. But then I'll get complacent, like every 10 or 11 months or so, and then I'll take another fucking huge chunk out of my head, usually on a day when I'm supposed to shoot video. If I'm lucky, it's in the back where it won't matter. But yeah. So I haven't reached that age either, Ayaz, where I can reliably shave my head without any fear whatsoever of taking a chunk out of my skull.
That's why you got that skin flap in the back. The very famous flap just opens like that.
It's really, also where the instructions are for me.
It's true. If you see him at CES, ask to see the flap.
Yeah.
Just make sure. That's what you say to him. You say, "Hey, Jonathan, let me see your flap," and he'll be like, "What episode is that from?" He's going to ask you.
Yeah. What's the context?
Who said it? Why did they say it? And no, he's going to say at the end of that, "No, you're not seeing my flap."
The nice thing is that when I ask you who said it, you'll have a 50-50 shot because Sandine's not on here. So your odds have already dramatically improved.
Well, assuming you remember the episode number.
Right.
Because I think this is episode 120 something. We're marching towards.
I think we might be in the 130s by now. I'm not sure. If we're not, we're real close. So keep getting closer to that 150 where we have to watch Rock and Roll Frankenstein again.
Yeah, and we're going to watch it all together in the same place, and we're going to have a mini projector, and we're going to watch it in a restaurant all together.
In a restaurant, right. Yeah. We'll have to make sure it's a city that none of us live in, because we will definitely be asked to never come back to that restaurant ever again.
Actually, this is episode 130.
There we go. I knew we had to be really close. So
we're 20 weeks away. If we actually do this once a week, we're on a streak now of 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think so.
So that's crazy.
We've endeavored to try and do this more regularly, partially because, we enjoy doing the show, and partially because for me, it's therapy. You get to talk to people and have some interaction, which is nice. And partially just because it's fun to buck the trend of do an episode, take a month off, do an episode, take 3 weeks off, do an episode. So
I wonder if we can get through the rest of the year. I seriously doubt it.
No, I'm sure there's going to be, with the holidays and everything, I'm sure there will be other conflicts that will come into play.
Oh, we can just do audio only ones and just be like a 6-minute episode and just put it out.
Yeah. I think the shortest episode we have is 17 minutes because I think it's that one we did after we did the infamous 404.
Yeah, there's a 17-minute episode of PWP, which, as far as I know, you guys loved it because I never hear anything negative. So clearly that must have been what happened. And then there's the other 40 minutes that were loved less by some other people, which is great.
Only by the 404 audience. The people who were both 404 and PWP fans thought it was great.
Yeah, all three of us. So
yes, the three hosts.
That was great.
And we were actually pretty good about staying on topic too, which is weird that there was so much backlash on that.
The backlash was mostly towards me, and that's the fun thing about that. Now it's way back in the past, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. I've got a couple of other. I'm doing 3 shows now with CNET, which is pretty cool. And if I can, I'm trying to set up a new thing for Quest for Peace. I have a couple of guests that I've talked to, and they want to talk about finding peace, and I want to keep them a surprise for a little bit because I actually want to go and do the video portion of it over in Queens. I just need to lock down Andrew, who's super busy, because he's got like a kid coming and he's like building a PC today and whatever else. And so that's going to happen. Quest for Peace isn't done. I like doing those maybe like 4, maybe 8 at a time, and that's like a season. There you go. I'm going to do it British style. You get 3 episodes, and I won't see you for a year, but the show's not canceled.
Yeah, as long as the episodes are like 90 minutes long or so, then you're okay.
Yeah, they could do almost 55 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, so usually when I think I've done 2 of them. I know I've done at least 1. And it was close to an hour, as I recall.
Yeah, there's a long, in-depth conversations, and the other thing is like for some reason I packed them all on the same day, and it's like doing those like 3 hours in a row is like it's very, very mentally draining to keep saying like, okay, well, or figuring out new things about yourself for 3 hours. Now I'm not talking about the guests. The guests are great. It's more like you're talking about some pretty heavy stuff. So sometimes you want to loosen it up and be dumber. So maybe I need to shove a podcast without pretense in the middle of the block.
Yeah, and then you'll need another Quest for Peace just to recover from the podcast without pretense.
I'll get so fucking angry that it's like, please stop me pissed off. If you watch the crossover episode, these fuckers pissed me off for 55 minutes. Yeah. Now
they picked the worst movie and made me watch it on public transportation.
And now they have to calm me down. Good fucking luck.
It's funny because I remember when I go back and listen to the old episodes, I suddenly realized that there are certain movies that only I watched because I took it upon myself to watch it before challenging you and Eric to watch them. And then there was a time when you were in San Francisco where the only time you really had available to watch stuff was when you were commuting. And bus. So, we had to be careful about what we picked because we didn't want you to get like arrested for watching borderline softcore pornography on the bus. Because some of the movies we picked were pretty, not necessarily raunchy. They were just
racy.
Yeah, and trashy. Trashy is probably a better word because one of them was a Cheerleader Massacre 2. And in my mind, it was a movie that we had all watched. But then when I went back and listened to the episode, I realized, no, I watched that movie on my wife's recommendation. And then I told you guys about it. And then I watched the first one, or tried to, but somehow the first one was even worse than the second one.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's rare when you have a sequel that actually is better than the original. Now, by better, I'm talking relatively better, not like it was good, because they were both awful, awful movies that made next to no sense and were really just an excuse for lots of gratuitous nudity and some violence.
Unrelated question. Have you seen The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2?
Yes. It's the same movie.
Yes. Is there any explanation why these 2 movies are so revered? Because Liz and I watched it like last week, for the first time each. And we're both like, this is okay. I don't get the cult following thing. Well, part of it was that there's this very stylish kind of approach to the filmmaking, even though it was low budget,
they did some very creative stuff. Like Raimi would put the camera on the end of a pole. And that's how he did all the swamp shots where it's the camera's just above the water line and doing all these crazy swoops. He had it on the end of a pole so he could do these things manually. And that was very different from a lot of the filmmaking at the time. Also, the stunts in those movies were all very physical, and Bruce Campbell did all of his own. Like he would do in the audition process, he did a full forward flip onto his back as part of it. Like it was supposed to be a fight scene. So he's acting out a fight scene and grabbed the back of his own jacket and then a full flip landing flat on his back. So the stuff that you see that's really physical, they were actually doing. And it was just that there was a lot of innovation in it. The first film is pretty much a straight up horror movie. It's not meant to be a horror comedy. There are parts of it that are unintentionally funny because of just the low budget approach. And that, I think, is what added to the cult status. Evil Dead 2, they decided to embrace the funny more. So it's more of a horror comedy. Not so much as Army of Darkness, which goes even further into the comedic realm. Army of Darkness being the third of the Evil Dead series.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're revered, is that there's some quotable lines, especially things like groovy, you know, like Ash being such kind of a brash character, who's also ultimately kind of a coward, is fun. So I think that those are the elements that really made it into a cult film. I really enjoy Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. I appreciate the first movie, but Evil Dead 2 is essentially the first movie retold.
Yeah. We were away by the Rotten Tomatoes scores, right? So like the first one's at 96%, the second one's at 98%. We're like, what the hell? Like I don't get it. We watched Fargo. I watched Fargo for the first time like 2 weeks ago. I know I'm really late to the party on all of these movies, but Fargo, I'm like, well, this is fucking unbelievable. It's really well told. It's really well shot. It's got a really good story, and it had like a tomato ranking of like a freshness rating of 86%. So it actually had a lower score than Evil Dead 2. And Liz and I were talking about this later. I'm like, why exactly? So maybe it's about putting the stuff in context and the time the stuff was shot and how it was shot, because that's what I was trying to figure out.
I think it's also in context of where you are in your life when you see them, because I think I would appreciate Fargo more now than when I originally saw it. I didn't like that movie when I first saw it. Then again, some of the Coen Brothers movies, I need to see more than once before I appreciate them. Like Big Lebowski, the first time I saw that, I was like, I don't get what's the deal with this movie. And then upon subsequent viewings, I'm like, okay, this is a very entertaining, interesting, weird kind of comedy version of film noir. And I appreciated it more when I saw it, you know, a second or third time. Raising Arizona the same way. I think the only movies that I saw of the Coen Brothers movies I saw where I loved it from the very first time were Hudsucker Proxy, which is very whimsical. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is also pretty whimsical. And No Country for Old Men, which isn't whimsical at all, but is amazing.
I think I've seen one of the movies you just mentioned there, and I have to see the rest. And my dog is getting up and she's stretching, which means it's time for the future to be told, apparently. Alrighty. Okay. Next time on Podcast Without Pretense.
Gosh, Eric, I can't believe you went to auctioneer school. I can't wait to hear how fast you can talk.
What? Oh. Okay.
Sold American.
So I have here the list of potential titles.
Yeah.
Although this is not really a title. I just started writing notes. Thanksgiving the Musical. How Not to Be Killed by Stairs. Tall and Not Very Deep. So that was kind of funny.
Nice. Shower
Dangers. It's a Lost Cause. I'm Shaving My Head. And just The Evil Dead is good, but that's really a note.
I like Tall, Not Very Deep. Yeah, I like that one. I like Tall and Not Very Deep.
Tall and Not Very Deep is just so. And I was starting to write this. I don't know why I was writing with a pencil instead of. I didn't want to clack on the keyboard, but like
we'll have to say it. Tall and not very deep. This show is very much not about our good friend Jason Howell.
Did you watch live? Liar. This show is not about Howell.
He's a good guy. I hope I see. Well, no, he's still with Twit, isn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah. So unless there's something has changed from the last couple of years, he won't be at CES.
Unless he wanders over. He's a tall guy. He only has to walk about 6 steps.
That's true.
Big guy.
No, I used to joke that Buzz Out Loud was the tallest podcast on the internet.
Everyone was over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, Molly Wood and well, when it was Molly, Tom, and Jason, really, that was. And then of course, like whenever they got like Natalie on, I'm like, well, you've totally thrown the average. Get a 5'5" tall.
That's why she was required to wear stilts. I'm going to stop the broadcast because
you got to take your doggy out.
Stop the broadcast.